Welcome to another edition of Kingdom Come. And since we're just beginning, I'll give another explanation for a minute of what that means. But some of the young people in my life that are so important to me asked me to share the stories of miracles and God's intervention and the answers to prayer that I've experienced all over the world, traveling in around almost 50 countries now of the world. But I want this generation, Generation Z, to know God cares about them, loves them. It's not some a being way out there that is unreachable. No, he wants to be involved in our lives. And he, as the kids say, shows up, or as we would say, God intervenes in our lives. And we want you that listen to this to know that you can call out to God, that he really does care about your life. So here's another edition of how God answers prayer, how God works miracles, how God displays his kingdom upon the earth. So I want to welcome today my friend for a long time, brother, Reverend Pastor Hal Perkins, author, pastor. Incredible story of how God's used his life, and his wife Debbie. So thank you for joining us. They were here this weekend teaching some discipleship concepts, and we spent 18 hours just being poured into by kind of my spiritual mentor, Brother Hal Perkins. So, but the reason I've asked you to on the program today, in the very beginning, I thought this is one of the greatest provable evidentiary stories that I have ever encountered. And because I knew you so well, I thought we've got to get this story out because I know it's valid. I know you. In fact, let me just introduce this by saying I was on my way home from Africa, made a call to Hal Perkins. I was so excited about his material being adopted and printed in Swahili that I called him on the way home. And he just sounded so weak, and I'm just going on and on and on and on about all that God is doing. And finally, I realized there is some kind of breathing apparatus in the back, a BiPAP or something. And I said, Hal, are you okay? And he says, this is during COVID. And he says, no. And I found out he was in the hospital. And I'll let you take over that story, Hal. Just you introduce it, and then we'll get Debbie's input because she's such a great storyteller, and she remembers things that us guys don't necessarily remember well. At least that's what my wife says. So, can you tell us what happened, how you got sick, and how that developed, and how God turned a hopeless situation around?
Well, to be as brief as possible, it started probably in Minneapolis at a conference. Then we came home and we were out with some people, found out they had COVID, and then Debbie got feeling not so good, so we left her in Kansas City and I went on to Boise, Idaho for the next conference. And then I got so bad, coughing and hacking, and had a hard time breathing that I just actually didn't even finish that conference, came home and was trying to do a conference for pastors in New Mexico, and I just could hardly talk, and I was hacking. And so we called a doctor, a friend of ours, and he said, get to the hospital. So we got to the hospital, and I'll just say this is a little bit of a great big overview to get us started. I haven't thought this through, but turned out I had actually four major diseases, any one of which would have killed 80 to 90% of people my age. I was 75 at the time, and it would have any one of them, and I had four of them plus COVID. And so, great big overview, and I'll let Debbie jump in the cracks here, but great big overview. After 12 days, they said, we've done everything we can do. This guy cannot recover, and they kept me alive artificially through the thing that they called the jet. They had to bring in a special oxygen deliverer because I needed 65 to 70 liters of oxygen.
That's a lot, isn't it?
That's a lot.
From the medical.
Well, it means your lungs aren't working at all. And they told me at the end that my lungs were not sick. They were brittle. That means they had no life. They were dead. So actually, I'll spoiler alert, my lungs weren't sick. They were dead. And so you're looking at Lazarus lungs.
I love that.
I was resurrected the way Lazarus was. So this is greater than most of the miracles that you see recorded in the Bible that we preach and teach about and have for 2,000 years. If you don't believe in Bible miracles, well, believe me, you're looking at one. And so that kind of gets to the end of the story, but I'll invite Debbie to take off and tell you.
Well, so for the next 12 days, he was on this artificial lung. And they were giving him medicine that they now report only kills the liver and the kidney and doesn't do anything for COVID. And so for those 12 days, so now we're up to 25 days. And during that time...
And he's in the hospital all this time, right?
And I can't see him. Nobody can go in.
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
Yes. And everybody had to be draped. That went in, the nurses all had to be draped in all this paraphernalia to protect them. Yeah. So there was really almost little to no human contact during this time. And so I went on Facebook and I said, we are in a situation where we need prayer. Well, when we got down to the 23rd day, I think, I said, we are in a dire situation. Now, we had all of our children and all of their friends. And so people across the world were praying for Hal during this time. And I said, we're in a dire situation. We need God's help. We need to pray. And then all through these 23 days, every night at 8 o'clock, our family would gather together on FaceTime, and Hal, and we'd all pray with faith that God was going to touch him and heal him. And it was a beautiful time of the day for you, because every day he felt like he was about to drown. That's how much trauma he was in during that time.
Right.
And so we went to prayer. So
let me interrupt and just say,
sure, please.
One thing that I had never experienced before, didn't realize, but without human relationship, even contact. So the nurses would come in, like they had this much visible, and there was no relationship. It was just doing the job they had to do. Similarly, primarily the doctors, but there was one nurse who actually found out that I was her pastor's father.
Okay.
And so she came in and she sat down on the bed and she said, "May I pray for you?" And so fucking teary. She put her hand on my hand just like this, touched me, and prayed for me. But something happened. We don't know the exact cause. I know the effect. When she prayed for me and I experienced human touch, human relationship, caring, something got into my head and I experienced something like I never had. I can't describe it well, but something physiologically, it might have been psychological first. It was certainly social. Something happened and I felt different instantly. And some would say, oh, it was just a prayer. Maybe, but I think it was something about human connection, because I think God made us that way. I can't prove it. But that was a big moment that it dominates my thinking when I think about this story.
Really?
So that was just a little thing that happened in the midst of being all alone for 25 days.
Well, you know what makes that so interesting to me with the audience we're trying to reach? There's less and less face-to-face interaction, and I think they're suffering because they need that relationship. So I am so glad now that you brought that up. But I will go back to you, Debbie, and I've known you a long time, so I know that you really tell the story well. You get the details. So what happened from that point?
Well, on the 23rd day, the doctor came in and told Hal, now you have to make a decision. You have to decide if you want to go on comfort care or if you want to go on the ventilator. Now, I don't suggest the ventilator. It will kill you eventually and you'll live a horrendous life. So, but you've got to make the decision. Your family is in denial. They think you're going home. Hal, you will never go home. We'll have to build a hospital around your house. There's no way you're ever going to go home. But you have to decide. You have to make that decision. So that was on the 23rd day.
Oh, that's heavy.
Yeah. So Hal got the family all on FaceTime again, just the immediate family. And he
So
told
there
them
were-
this.
Our 4 children, their spouses, and our 14 grandkids. So this is a little army that when she's talking about our family, we got a crew.
Right. So there were 24 of us on the prayer
All
meeting every
believers,
night.
I assume, all had
All
some
believers.
strong faith.
Passionate lovers of
Passionate lovers.
Jesus.
Okay, wow.
Passionate
And
lovers.
ages from what to what?
Well, I think the youngest one was 5, but the oldest the oldest grandchild was 16. And we don't need to go into all of our ages. No,
No, that's fine. No, I'm just,
Okay.
okay, that's fine. I just wanted to say the young people were involved
Yes.
with their dynamic
Praying.
faith. And
Praying for their
they-
poppy, yes.
For their poppy, I love that.
Yes,
And
yes.
that just thrills my heart. In fact, next week I think we're going to show the video that you all made
Oh,
with
okay.
them praying.
Yes.
You know, it's just so exciting. But yeah, go
Yes.
ahead. You're thrilling my heart with this
Okay,
story.
great. So then he also told the family what he had decided for his funeral and what each person would play and say and do during this time. And
Oh my.
so on the 24th day, the doctor came in again with the same message. And then you want to tell about what happened the night of the
Sure.
24th?
Yeah, it's a little bit hard one to tell, but he would always say, Hal,
Oh,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Before this is when we had the prayer meeting.
Mm-hmm.
We had a prayer meeting with the family, and by this time it's pretty somber, and our faith is pretty weak.
Yeah.
And we tried to have faith, but now the doctor kept coming in and kept giving that message, and
That you're in denial or that you had to prepare or whatever.
yes,
Yeah.
get
Telling me
ready.
to make a decision. He
Mhm.
said, basically, we didn't know it at the time, but they needed the bed, the hospital,
Yeah.
and I wasn't going to live, and they knew it because scientifically I was dead. I couldn't live, and so they wanted the room, and we found that out later. So
You can almost call this a near-death experience, couldn't you? For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So they had put him in another room, and I saw that as, a little bit of hope,
Yeah.
Not that he was transitioning out, but that maybe there was some hope there.
Yes.
So anyway, it's
Tell them why they put me in another room.
because they needed the bed.
Well, yeah, but and they knew I was going to die, and so they put me in another room so Debbie could come see me 15 minutes
Okay.
before I died.
Yeah.
That's what I found out later.
Right,
Wow.
right. They always let you come in for 15 minutes on the day you're going to die. They let a family member come in.
Yeah, I kind of remember some of those protocols. That was a dark time in many
Yeah.
lives.
And since then, the hospital has changed the policy so that family members, they thought that I was part of the healing. But anyway, no, it was all God. Anyway, so,
No, that's not. He works through people, and we don't know, so we have to be humble about that. But it might have been, and I'll just add to that. What happened was when they let Debbie come. This is getting ahead of the story a little bit.
Right.
Okay, just make sure to include it when we go ahead.